Hi, I am back today to do my Weight Watchers 1 year update. I have been doing Weight Watchers since October 26th, 2016, and I have felt really great on the program, and I'm not even really I haven't lost a ton of weight. I've only lost, as of right now, I think I've only lost 24 pounds, which is not a lot when you consider that there are 52 weeks in a year, and an average, a great weight loss is about a pound a week, and I've basically lost half a pound a week. So I'm gonna split this video into 3 separate parts. I think I'm gonna do just the basic why I joined Weight Watchers, and then I'm gonna talk about tips, and maybe some ideas that I've kind of formed over this, and then I'm gonna do food examples because I think that that's really a lot of what people want. And when you're first starting Weight Watchers or any program, you're like, what the hell do I eat? So I'm gonna talk about that. The main reason I picked Weight Watchers, I had gained some weight. I had gained about 20 pounds over the course of about 2 years, because I started dating my boyfriend, and we ate out all the time. Not all the time, but before I was dating him, I was living alone, I was single, and so I kind of just ate well. And having him here means that there are always Oreos in the house, there are always chips in the house, ice cream, donuts, that kind of stuff. And I gained weight. I don't really regret that part of it because I think it was just it just happened, and it's not that big of a deal because I have decided I don't want to be like that. So the reason specifically I picked Weight Watchers was because I knew that they focused on fruit and vegetables, or most vegetables being 0 points, and that sounded the most appealing to me. When I would track on my FitnessPal, it felt so obsessive to me, and I hated that. I don't really care how many calories are in a cup of green cabbage or things like that, where I would make stir fries and it was just felt very nitpicky. And now when I cook on Weight Watchers, I just track the things that are points in my food. They do recommend that you track your whole meal. In the app will encourage you, they'll say oh, you tracked 5 fruits every day or whatever, fruit for 5 days in a row, and I don't need that encouragement because that's not different or weird for me. I think that if you are coming from eating only processed foods and stuff, maybe that encouragement would help. So you just decide what you want. I just think it's easier to just track a turkey burger and peanuts or something for one meal. I don't know what that meal would be specifically, but maybe if you were doing a stir fry or whatever, I only track the things that are points. Sometimes I have stressed out over the fact that I haven't lost as much weight as a lot of other people. A lot of people post I've lost 50 pounds since starting January 1st of 2017 and things like that, and I kind of sometimes feel bad about that. I know that I'm starting at a low, I was under 200 pounds, and I know a lot of people that are over 200 pounds get really excited to be in Wonderland. That's what they always call it. And I know because I started at that slightly lower weight that I'm gonna lose weight a lot slower, but also because I focus on eating whole natural foods, I know that I don't want to eat highly processed, highly chemical-y food, and sometimes that's at a price of maybe losing weight not as quickly, because I see people that eat junk a lot that maybe don't change their eating habit, and it drives me crazy. I get so annoyed sometimes. I'm why can't I lose weight that fast? But you kind of have to just realize that your journey and your journey in general in your life is going to be different than everybody else's, and you kind of have to just be fine with that because it is what it is. I have had setbacks where I've decided to eat pizza maybe twice in a week. I have discovered over this last year that pizza does not settle well with me. It makes me feel kind of sick almost every time I eat it, and I never felt that way before. I don't eat it super frequently, but I do love pizza, but every time I eat it, I don't feel well, and I always tend to feel quite bloated afterwards. So if I have decided to indulge in pizza maybe twice in 1 week or whatever that would be, I try to use those like setbacks. So maybe I see like a gain instead of a loss or something. I try to use those setbacks as like learning moments, because it's really easy to be like, I suck, I didn't lose weight, or I suck, like I can't, whatever. I see people on Instagram talking about I'm obsessing over food and I ate my feelings last night or whatever. And like, I think you just have to use those moments as like learning tools, and you have to go into the next day as like a fresh new day, but not having to pay for that negative thing you did the day before, because I see a lot of that. I see a lot of like, I overindulged yesterday, so I have to work out today. And I don't ever think that you're going to be healthy mentally and physically if you make yourself pay for things like that. You're never going to have a healthy relationship with food if you treat yourself like that. If I don't feel like working out, I'm just not going to work out, and that's it. And I'm not going to make myself feel guilty. And feelings of guilt are going to be there. I still feel guilty sometimes when I overindulge or whatever. Or maybe if I don't lose weight specifically, that's for me, where if I don't lose weight or if I've gained weight, I'm always like, God dang it, like that's so frustrating. I do work on that. I work on feeling guilty, but you just have to like get over some of that stuff, and you have to just try to move forward, because I want to eat like this forever. I don't necessarily want to be on Weight Watchers forever, but like I want to eat healthy and good for my body forever. Like this isn't a short-term thing for me. And like I think one thing that a lot of people do, like what I was saying earlier, where like if you used to eat ice cream every single night, or used to eat a candy bar every single night, and instead now you're eating a pint of Halo Top every night, or you're eating like, I don't even know, a Quest bar or whatever it is, and you're replacing those things with healthier versions of that. While that seems like a smart idea, you're not changing your behavior at all. And I think that's one thing that I've had to work on, is like, do I really want this? Do I only have the points for it and that's why I'm eating? Or do I really want to eat this? Because sometimes I'll plan ahead for this great meal, or it'll be indulgent, and I'll think like, but I don't actually want that. Like my body really doesn't want that coffee drink or whatever it is for you. And I think you have to start to try to be in tune to that. That's maybe down the road a little farther. Like if you start losing weight and you're like, I'm going to switch out my pint of Ben & Jerry's for Halo Top, you do that. And if that's working for you, you do that. But eventually you're going to want to evaluate that. I think if you don't change your behavior, you're always going to be kind of teetering on that line of like, going back, because I see a lot of people do this online and they feel so bad and they like backslide or they whatever, and like, oh, I didn't track anything that I ate in July, so I gained like 15 pounds. And like, if you just kind of allow yourself some balance and work on your behaviors a little bit and your relationship with food, those things won't be as detrimental to you. One of my main goals specifically has just been to like really focus on that 80-20 balance rule. 80% of the time I'm eating really good nutrient dense foods. The 20% is not just processed foods. It's not just, candy or ice cream or whatever. That 20% also includes eating convenient foods, such as, I can show you this, something like this. This is not necessarily a great choice in terms of like, it has stevia in it, and I don't love stevia, but this is super handy, like if I'm traveling, if I need an emergency snack or whatever. This is better than just not eating and eating something much worse later. So I would say this is part of that 20%. One thing that has really helped me is understanding what each food does for me, finding out the benefits of certain things versus like just what tastes good and what doesn't taste good. When I, if I eat something like seaweed or whatever, I know that that has ingredients that are good for me and things that are benefiting my body. So while it might be like a snack food for me, if I know that it's doing something positive for my body, more than just like nourishing it and feeding it, but if it's doing other things for my body or it has other like micronutrients in it, I'm more likely to pick those foods. And again, that might just be me, but that just really helps me kind of stay on track, because I want to make my body as healthy as possible, not just in terms of weight. And then I guess my last kind of experience is that, like, for weigh-in days, I weigh myself every Wednesday. I sometimes weigh myself like random days too, but if I feel like I'm being too obsessive, or if I feel like if I weigh myself and I'm up or something, I'm gonna get annoyed or angry about it or feel bad, I just don't weigh myself, because it doesn't actually matter. Like, it doesn't matter what I actually weigh this Wednesday versus last Wednesday or whatever. And I would urge people to not do anything weird. I was reading this one girl's post on Instagram, and she said that she always wears this one specific dress because she's weighted, and it weighs the least out of all of her clothes. And she also makes sure she wears light, like, hair ties, so she can pull out her hair ties. And I just think, like, maybe in an extreme case, those are gonna matter. You know, you wouldn't necessarily want to wear like a coat or heavy sneakers or something like that, but like a hair tie is maybe being a bit obsessive, and you just don't need to be that obsessive about your weight. You just don't need to. You don't need to feel that like you have to strip down to whatever you can, because she was going to meetings. That was the thing, is she was going to meetings, so she was trying to be as like naked as possible basically in order to weigh. And I think I get where that comes from, but I think that, gotta get a little comfortable, but I think that's maybe obsessive and maybe not great for your mental state. So I would encourage people not to do that, but like, I'm not a professional. I just think that that sounds crazy. So moving into like my basic tips, I'm gonna say, first and foremost, bulk up your meals with vegetables and fruits. Some vegetables are not 0 points, but most of them are. And I think that's the key, is like, you want to stay full and satisfied. You don't want to let yourself get too hungry. So that's one thing that I really focus on. With my, over the summer, I was eating every day for lunch. Not every day, but it was every day for like 3 weeks. I would eat like a turkey burger on greens, and then I would eat a baked potato with sauerkraut and some like fat-free yogurt, and I would bulk that meal up with like extra greens, or I would roast some kale or whatever, and just bulk it up so that you will stay full. I track everything I eat. I have a 1-bite rule, so like if I have one chip, I don't track it. I'm not crazy. If I have 3 or more chips or something like that, I just track it and move on. I also have a 1-bite rule that I have followed from Melissa Hartwig, who co-wrote the Whole30. She talks about the 1-bite rule, where like, if you take a bite of something and it's not really that great, don't eat it. I did that the other day. I was like craving something sweet, like kind of when you're like maybe a little bit like, I want something sweet so bad, and I knew it was because I was tired. And somebody had Butterfinger, like the little fun size Butterfinger. Bit into it, started eating it, and I was like, you know, this isn't really satisfying. This isn't really what I want. So I just threw the other half away. And sometimes that's hard. Sometimes you're going to want to eat the whole thing anyway because your sugar dragon is like crazy. But I think that that's a really positive one to stick with, is like, if you're trying to eat something and it's not actually what you want, just get rid of it and eat something else. Like, eat something that's going to satisfy you and make you feel good. I'm going to say, don't eat just because you have points to eat. Again, like, one of my big things that I work on is honoring my hunger, and that includes like eating when I'm hungry. Like, I don't make myself wait until I'm starving. I eat when I'm hungry. Yesterday I ate breakfast at like 10 a.m. and by noon I was hungry for lunch. That's only 2 hours. Like, that seemed really short. And then I just thought, oh well, like, just eat lunch then. It was a day off for me, so I had a little more freedom with when I was eating, but like, just eat when you're hungry, but also honor your hunger in the way that, like, if you're not hungry, don't eat. Don't finish the meal. Just stop, because you will start trusting yourself and you'll start realizing like what it feels like to just be full versus like stuffed. And also, when you're starving, that's when you're going to make the worst decisions. So just make sure you have emergency snacks on you. I always carry a banana. I always carry jerky. I have, I think, an RX bar in my bag right now for work. So just like honor your hunger. That's one of my biggest ones that I stick with. I've had a few days where I've been so stressed out about tracking my food, and where tracking my food feels stressful, I guess. And I have given myself days where I'm just like, I'm not going to track. And I think a lot of people do this. A lot of people have like a special occasion or something and they're just not going to track. And I think that that's a smart idea, as long as you, again, respect yourself and respect your hunger and don't go crazy all day long. I think if it's Thanksgiving is coming up in a month, and I love Thanksgiving, I love stuffing and mashed potatoes and all of that, and like, I'm just going to eat what I want and stop when I don't want it anymore, but I'm not going to go on like a day-long binge. Thankfully I've never really had that issue. I haven't had the like food obsession or binging kind of thing, but if you feel like you don't want to track, just don't track that day. Don't track for 2 days, whatever, but like also still stick with like the foods that so if I know I'm going to indulge at dinner for Thanksgiving, my morning breakfast is going to be the same. I'm going to still drink my same little pumpkin coffee probably. I can still eat my normal lunch. Just stick with the same things, I guess. And again, like, don't feel bad when you eat the things you really want. Also, just know that if you're just starting Weight Watchers, or if you're on Weight Watchers and you've been on it for a long time and you're feeling unsuccessful, it just takes time. It's an evolution, and we as people evolve over time, and we don't just change suddenly. And I think that that's the biggest thing, is that you have to remember that, and have to remember that you are only human, and that's that, really. Okay, this video is getting so long. So I'm going to quickly go through some of my food examples of just like kind of my like starter pack of things that work really well for me. I always have apples and bananas on hand. I will say that. I don't have an example of those. Also, I cook a lot with broth, and I forgot to grab one of those, but I cook a lot with like vegetable broth or chicken broth. So like if I'm going to stir fry something, I don't typically use oil to cook with, because I do get fats in other places, and that tends to like add points to your meals, and I don't prioritize like olive oil, coconut oil. That may be bad or good, I don't know. It's just how I cook, and I like to use a lot of broths just for that like non-stick quality. I'm going to jump in and just start. I guess I can start talking about this. I pulled this up earlier. It is a stevia-based yogurt. I prefer to eat these. Again, I've talked about this. I'm not a big fan of fat-free, but I just really like this Greek yogurt the best. My favorite snack that I might insert a picture of is this with some Trader Joe's almond butter. It's my favorite almond butter because it's kind of runny. I put a half a tablespoon of that. This container is 1 point. The half a tablespoon of almond butter is 1 point. And I put like a scoop of frozen berries that I'll just defrost really quickly in, and it is like the snack that keeps giving. It keeps me so full. I try to avoid dairy so much because it does upset my stomach now, but if I need a really good snack that's gonna hold me over for like a long period of time, like 2 hours or more, that's the snack to go to. So again, I would say that this is a great option, and that's a fat that's coming in. These are actually 3 points, but if you're dying for like a flavored yogurt, 3 points. I mean, that's great. I think the Siggy's yogurts are also 3 points, and they're a little bit better ingredients, I think. I mentioned this in my last What I Ate in a Day. I was drinking this earlier. I'm super sensitive to caffeine, so I can't have a lot, so I only had a half today. But this is 0 points, and I actually really, really love these. I can drink these without cream or anything in them, and it tastes super good to me. That's a great 0 point drink if you want. Plain iced tea, another one of my favorite things, and it's 0 points. So if you want like a treat or a pick-me-up or something, that's really great. I mentioned this in my What I Ate in a Day, this fat-free organic marinara. The only reason this is from Whole Foods, but the only reason it's fat-free is because it doesn't have oil in it. The ingredients are super, super clean otherwise, and you can have 1/2 cup for 0 points. Super, super great. In terms of dressings, I love these Bolthouse Farms. I also really like Primal Kitchen's like avocado oil based ones, but those are a little bit higher. I want to say it's maybe like 4 points for 2 tablespoons, but they're really good and good quality. These are good-ish ingredients, and you can have 2 tablespoons for 2 points, and I love the ranch. I'm super picky about ranch. They also have blue cheese, and I think all of their dressings across the board are 2 tablespoons for 2 points as far as I found. I think that's really great, especially if you're just starting. A snack food that I love, that I've just started to like, are these seaweed snacks. I would encourage you to try flavored ones if you've tried seaweed. I hate seaweed. I don't like fish. I don't like things that taste like fish. These little sea snacks ones, this is an onion one, which I haven't tried, but this is 1 point. There are other ones from, I think it's Annie Chun's brand, that are slightly bigger. A container is 2 points, and this kind of gives you that like chippy kind of thing. I was migraining really bad one day, and like when I have a migraine, I want to eat everything. I added one of these to my lunch, and it made me feel like I was eating junk food when I wasn't. And again, seaweed has a lot of really good stuff for you in it, and so again, that kind of helps me feel good about snacking, and they're really good. The Annie Chun's one that I like is called teriyaki or sesame, I think, something like that. Super, super good. I've mentioned these before. These are Nick's Sticks Spicy Turkey. I try not to eat a ton of meat. Lately, I've been eating a little more meat, and I struggle with that a little bit, but these are really good emergency snacks. It's 2 points for 2 sticks. It's a decent amount, especially if you pair it with like an apple or something, or a banana or whatever. Super high in protein. This is 2 points. I think I already said that. One thing that's part of my 20% junk food are these Joseph's low carb lavash. The lavash is great, and then these pitas. They really help sometimes. Like, they're not great ingredients, but they really, really help get through. I also just recently found like low carb tortillas. It's La Tortilla Factory, I think, and they're 1 point per tortilla, and I just wanted tortillas, so I did it, and I feel guilty about it, but again, we're working on guilt, and whatever, right? Whatever. Tortillas are not going to kill me. And one thing I eat a lot of is sauerkraut. This is not my favorite. I've had this for a million years because it's not my favorite, but it's garlic dill pickle from Farmhouse Culture, and it adds a lot of flavor. So that's something that I will say is like adding stuff like this that's 0 points and adds a lot of flavor. Also, one thing I wanted to mention is there are days that you're going to eat all your points, and you're going to go home and you're going to be like, it's dinner time and I literally have 3 points left or 4 points left, and you're like, what the hell am I going to eat? So on those days, I do my very best, even if I'm like maybe have eaten all my weeklies and I don't want to go into the negative. I hate when my weeklies go into the negative. I try my best to eat as many 0 point vegetables as possible and stick within my points. So one way I've done that is just finding lean proteins. So like the Simply Balanced turkey burgers or chicken burgers are 3 points. So last week I was there, I only had 3 points, and so I ate that as my 3 points, and then I had kale, and I had roasted delicata squash, and I just had as many vegetables as I could to keep me full, and I managed to make it that day. But if I would have gone over, I would have had to have just like gone over and not stressed about it. One of my favorite recent like lower point meals is having like a 1/4 cup brown rice, and I mix it with cauliflower rice, and then I'll put like one of those like turkey burgers, or I'll put like half a piece of chicken on it or something like that for like 3 points, and I call that a meal, and it's about 5 points. So that's a great like low point lunch, especially if you want something comfort foody, and I'll just put a little bit of soy sauce on it, and that's great. So I feel a little discombobulated now because I've been trying to put so much information into one video, but I'm gonna call it good. I hope that this helped anybody who was watching this, even if you are a random stranger who's never been on my channel before. This is the kind of video I looked for when I first started Weight Watchers, and this is how I wanted to celebrate my 1 year being on Weight Watchers. So again, thank you so much for watching. If you did watch the whole way through, that's even better. And I will talk to you later. Goodbye.